LEGO sets in May are of course all about Star Wars, and rightly so, but before we get to all the new sets coming from that galaxy far, far away, there are also some others that are new to the scene. In this video we're going to check them all out along with the GWPs, insider rewards and special offers. So strap on your lightsabers and let's dive into what's coming in a week's time. Now, I will place timestamps in the description down below, but we will go alphabetically, beginning with the art theme and set 31216, this being the dancing figures coming on the 15th of May, so not at the start of the month, but halfway through. And it's an interesting choice of artist, I think. Not usually the sort of thing that LEGO would align themselves with. Obviously, nothing wrong with this particular piece of artwork, but some of the others are very questionable and definitely more adult-orientated. For example, this one, which definitely reminds me of somebody. I think it's terrific, but probably no wonder that LEGO hasn't chosen it and has instead gone for this. Now, as far as displayability, these can be placed on a wall or they can just be put on the little stands like this. And look, there's nothing wrong with them. They don't do anything for me personally, but it's a reasonable reflection of the artwork. There are some changes. I mean, for example, this one here is more orange rather than red, and the pink and the green have been switched around. But if you like it, not a problem at all. The thing is that the art theme can be pretty hit or miss in general. I feel this is mainly a miss, and that's mostly down to the pricing. I mean, it reminds me a little bit of the message board that we had. And what I mean by that is that there is nothing inherently wrong with this set. If you like it, that's fine, but it's just terrible value for money. And I don't know where they get off selling this for this amount. I mean, it's $120, as you can see here in the States. In Canada, that is $150. And in the land down under, it's $200. Ouch. As for Europe, €120, and in the UK, £105. Now, I just do not think that that is good value for money. If you disagree, if you think that it is and it's something you're going to be getting, let me know in the comments down below. We then come to one that thankfully I can actually show you. This one already available for pre-order. It is set 10347, the Petite Sunny Bouquet. And it's obviously just a very small addition to the Botanicals lineup, and, you know, it is a nice little bunch of flowers which you can have in a display, but this one doesn't even come with a pot. Now, I don't mind that. We've had things like it from LEGO before, and they do look quite good if you put them into a vase or vase, depending on your location. If we think about the likes of the plum blossom or the lucky bamboo or the mini orchid that we've recently had, all for the same pricing, I'm not even a particular fan of the pots they've put them in, but it does seem like just more of a substantial build rather than having to pay the same thing for just the loose flowers. Now, whilst I think that that is a fair criticism to give this, at the same time, being fair about it, these are some really nice little flowers. Not every floral display has to be absolutely jam-packed, really substantial, and if you're just looking for something fairly low-key, then this could well be for you. Now, pricing-wise on this, at the moment it's down to be $30 US, 40 Canadian, 50 Australian, and €30, £25. Now, this is as good a time as any to, of course, bring up the tariffs that have been going on for those of you who are in the States. And quite frankly, I think that the knock-on effects of it are going to affect pretty much everyone when it comes to LEGO. You know, their CEO has been saying that they're not going to obviously let it stop the general increases that they have been seeing, and if you don't know, their profits have certainly been going up and up. Ultimately, we know that we are going to be getting some price increase, and I'll cover those more when we get to Star Wars in a minute. Moving on now, we come to the F1 collectible race cards in 71049. These are effectively like your collectible minifigure series, so although they do come under the other or miscellaneous section, I'm alphabetically going to include them in here as though they were a CMF series. In all intents and purposes, that's effectively what they're replacing. And the principle is the same. You pick up a random pack, of course, you'll be able to scan the QR code, or alternatively, from other retailers outside of LEGO, you can just buy a full, complete pack. But I am not convinced about these at all, personally. I'll be really interested to know what you think of them in the comments down below. I don't like using the word, but I feel like they're a bit tacky. Because, of course, they don't have any minifigures, it's just blank heads with helmets. There's no characters. They can't be integrated with any pre-existing sets. So really, it's just about the colours of the cars. And even if you are a big F1 fan, I struggle to see why you would want to collect all of these. They don't really do it justice. I mean, if this was a sort of toy that you got out of a McDonald's Happy Meal, then absolutely. I'm sure kids could definitely have some fun with them. And no doubt they still can, but is this really what LEGO's coming to? I know they've been going all in on the F1 theme this year, but there are enough sets, I feel, that are covering it, and this to me feels like they're just trying to cash in on the type of toy that you would really expect from other companies, and let's face it, they've got enough of a monopoly as it is without having to start doing that. Of course, those are just my views. Maybe you disagree with me and you think these are actually fantastic and you're looking forward to collecting them, and if so, get commenting down below. Alternatively, if you think I'm right and that these are a bit pathetic, well, let me know that too. Either way, they're coming next month as well. $5 per random pack in the States, $6 in Canada, same in Australia, and then €4, £3.50. Now, though, we need to take a pit stop at Marvel and the Avengers Endgame Final Battle coming in 76323. This is effectively just a remake of 76266. And I would say that it is debatable as to whether or not it actually looks better. I think that this is quite a bit more juniorized, actually. I mean, look, I'm not a huge fan of the last couple that they've done, but to be fair, Age of Ultron that we had here, and to a slightly lesser extent, I think, the Civil War action battle were better because they were sort of more, not adult dioramas, but they didn't just look like play sets. At least I don't think so anyway. They did have a bit of presence to them. I'm just not getting that here. I mean, ultimately, we have very little in the way of terrain. We've now just got the rings signifying the portals. Yes, we do get a decent amount of minifigs. A lot of them have repeat printing. Some bits are new. I mean, Cap's shield, that's a really interesting one to get. I guess that it was easier for them to still keep it as a circle rather than actually just being like a broken piece. So to be fair, that's fairly understandable. But this definitely looks to me like more of a play set rather than something that you would want to have on display on your shelf. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be for kids, absolutely not. But I just feel that something like this one did appeal more to adults as well. And ultimately, the price for these is a little bit more reflective of an adult set anyway. They're not cheap. £90, $100, same in euros. That's about 14.5 pence, 16 cents per piece. Of course, more expensive again in Canada, $130, $150 in Australia. I guess that while I'm not after something really substantial, I would like a bit more than this. The portals are okay, they're nothing fantastic. I never liked this set, I felt like that was a bit of a shambles. But whilst the layout here is probably a little bit better, I do feel it's somewhat bland. Again, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Either way, get commenting. Is this one you'll be adding to your collection? Do you think it's worth the money? Now, though, we move to the world's speediest plumber. If you've got a leak or a drippy nozzle, don't call a doctor, just call Mario. Following on from the buildable Bowser that we saw, we do now have Mario in his standard cart. And speaking for myself, I'm quite glad that they've done this. When they first announced the Mario Kart line that they were going to be bringing along, I was really excited. I'm sure many people were. Then we saw the likes of this, and it just really did not do them justice at all, especially when the figures themselves were not interactive. You had to get the other ones that come in separate sets and then fit them on the vehicles if you wanted any form of interaction. It was just rather disappointing. Of course, this is now taking things to the other end of the spectrum. Very much an adult set. The face shaping is slightly questionable, but I'm being very nitpicky with that overall. I think actually they've captured his expression really well, and this is a super cool set to have on display. I think for me, what I would really have liked though is if we could have had this maybe on half the scale, and yes, I know that that's obviously going to change the level of detailing and everything, but half the scale, that then reflected in the price difference, and actually some more characters. You know, having Mario, Luigi, Peach, Yoshi, Donkey Kong, etc., all on this scale really would not be financially feasible. But half the size, I think that does become quite a bit more achievable. Let me know what you think about that down in the comments. Now, coming on to price, this is not bad on a price per piece basis. In the UK, it's about 7.5 pence. In the States, 8.5 cents. Same in Europe. Overall pricing, of course, being $170 US at the moment. 170 in Europe, £150. If you're in Canada, this will be $2.20, and in Australia, $2.50. It is available to pre-order if you wish, although it won't actually ship until the 15th of May. So this one's not for the start of May. It's going to come halfway through the the month, just bear that in mind. But it's also the last set before we come to the main event, of course, being Star Wars. Following on from the Marvel logo that we recently had, we now have this brick-built version of the Star Wars logo. The notable difference, of course, between the two is that this one does not come with any minifigs, and that will appeal to some people and definitely put others off. Now, of course, the first thing is the color, and I am finding it not as bad as I originally thought I was going to. Because in all fairness, having this, as black with a yellow outline all the way around would be very difficult to do and look good, I think, in something that's this big. And so, to be fair to them, I think this is a pretty good way of doing it. I actually like the end result. The shaping is also overall very strong. It has been noted by quite a few people, though, that the angle in the letter A for the slopes between the bottom and top are not in line, and they should be. So that is a negative. There's also a fair few comments about how instead of minifigs, if you remove the top of the T, you've then got reference to A New Hope with the Tantive 4 on the Star Destroyer. I risk sounding ungrateful when I say that I don't really think that's enough. I'm grateful to have it. It's a good thing to be in there. But on its own, I don't feel that it sort of makes up for not having any minifigs at all. But again, I'm sure some people will be fine with that. And if you are one of them, make sure to comment down below. Now, pricing this one at the moment is not too bad in the States. $60, that's the same as it is in the UK, £60. So definitely not so good over here where I am. From a conversion point of view, that puts it in at around 8.5 cents per piece. And Europe, even worse off, €70, so around 10 per piece. In Australia, it's $110, whilst in Canada, it is 80. Now, the main thing with those prices are, it is technically a little bit cheaper on a price per piece basis than the Marvel logo that we had in 76313. But actually, the price per piece is very close. And when this had more interactivity and the added minifigures in, I just feel it highlights once again that the value for money is not there for Star Wars fans. Now, there are sets that have been released for which price increases are coming this summer. I'm not going to go into those sets here. That's not what this video is about. Check out other YouTubers, they've covered it, or just Google it. But just bear that in mind again with all of these new releases. I'm fully aware that while I may complain about prices at the moment, they could well also be going to go up, so we'll just have to wait and see. Next up is 40795. Little brickhead here of young Skywalker. This is still just the standard single brickhead pricing in your region, so no change there at the moment, and I like it. I mean, I am a Brickheads fan. If you've watched the channel before, you'll know that. Some are definitely better than others, though, and I feel this is pretty strong. It's actually one area where I feel that LEGO do give a good amount of attention to detail for the Star Wars theme. There's several other themes where if they get brickheads being added, the quality isn't really as good. I mean, particularly if I'm thinking about Harry Potter or Disney, there are some good ones, but I do feel that in this regard, Star Wars actually does better. So too with the Heroes and Villains set from Revenge of the Sith, obviously with Anakin, Grievous, the Emperor Palpatine, as well as Obi-Wan and Master Windu. It's the normal pack price for $5. I just have to say that I think the amount of character that they've managed to capture just by having the printing on the eyes is fantastic. I mean, how much does it actually change Anakin simply by switching those over? I'm not so keen on Grievous. I think that it's hard, I suppose, to do in a brickhead, and in that respect, actually pretty unique compared to a lot of the ones that we've got before, but I'm still not very convinced in how they've done it. Doesn't look that good to me. Otherwise, though, fairly decent, and again, if you're a Brickheads fan, they'll be for you. Moving on, we come to the new Rebel U-Wing in set 75399. This one a remake of what we originally saw in 2016, only this time round is slightly smaller and less detailed. You also get one less character this time round than we did back then. The only minifig to be the same actually being Andor himself. For once, though, it does feel slightly refreshing to be able to say that this isn't terribly priced. Certainly as things currently stand, it's pretty reasonable, and whilst it's smaller, it's still going to make for a pretty decent display set, and is also an ideal size for swooshability. So I feel a pretty good example actually of a set that's ideal for both that play and display mix. Now, mentioning pricing there, it's £60, $70, same in euros, and it's $90 Canadian, 110 in Australia. Like I said, that's not great value for money, but at the same time, I feel it's better than quite a bit that we've been seeing, and pretty reasonable actually for the set itself. It's not as good, I don't think, as the old version, but at nearly a decade apart, it is great to see a new version of this being offered up. So then, keep my views concerning value for money on these sets in mind as we come to 75406 and Kylo Ren's Command Shuttle, because I think that this is little short of an absolute rip-off. I mean, LEGO, in many people's opinions, and certainly my personal opinion, are becoming more and more greedy, and this just really highlights it. I mean, this is a 386-piece set, which just looks flimsy, quite frankly. It's small, flimsy, lacking in detail, and they're charging $70 US for this. Same in euros, 60 British pounds, 90 Canadian, 110 Australian. I just can't get past the audacity of them pricing this like that. Now, of course, in the interest of fairness, this isn't the easiest ship because of its overall shaping to do in LEGO in this sort of scale. But it's for that very reason that I feel like they almost shouldn't do it. But again, it's my personal opinion only. If you disagree, please do post down in the comments below. But I think that this looks really flimsy, unfinished, just got so many exposed studs on this. I'd go so far as to say that I hate the way that this looks. I find it pretty embarrassing. And if we just stick with US pricing for the second, $70, if it was $20 less, I still don't think it would be worth it, but at least I could then see the logic behind it. But what the price tag actually is for this, I find absolutely outrageous. I honestly would not go near it with a 10-foot lightsaber. Of course, it's not the only set relating to Kylo Ren that we will be getting next month, as set 75415 adds his helmet to the helmet collection. And this one is a bit of a disappointment in a different way. There was a lot of speculation as to whether this would include the option of the red cracks that we see after the helmet gets damaged. And I think that overall would have been a really cool feature to have included with this set, and it would actually make the price a lot more reasonable. As it is though, and probably unsurprisingly, that is not the case. No doubt, because in LEGO's mind, they will want to be able to release a second version of this at some point down the line that will then have those red cracks in them. And that, of course, then gives them the excuse to sell another completely different set. Now, aside from that, just in terms of the actual design of this, I also think I'm right in saying that this is the smallest helmet that we've had to date. Only 7 inches tall, and as many women will tell you, it's very disappointing when you're only holding 7 inches in your hands, especially with a weird knobbly head like this. Now look, some of the helmets are more popular than others. They are something that do tend to split opinion. I think that the helmet collection is a great thing overall. I'm glad that they've started doing more sets for it again. But, you know, Kylo Ren's helmet is a really cool one, and I just feel that the way that they've put that into LEGO bricks has not translated across. But anyway, those are my personal feelings. By the by, pricing on this one, £60, $70, same in euros, $90 Canadian, 110 in Australia. Now, the other new helmet that we will be getting is Jango Fett's in set 75408. This one coming with almost 100 pieces more, and yet for the same price in the States, it does change price-wise in other regions, so it's a little bit screwy-looey, because it's also £70 in the UK, not a great conversion for over here, 80 euros, so even worse, $90 Canadian, and 130 in Australia. Now, I'm still not convinced by the size of this, because although it is bigger than the Kylo Ren one, part of that is simply because of the pieces that we have here. Now, it's not massively smaller than other helmets that we've seen in the series, but when you do compare it to some of the previous ones, there is a notable difference. And again, that's not great from a displayability point of view. I guess it doesn't matter if you haven't got them near one another, but if they're all on on the same shelf or something, then it's going to make it a bit strange. By and large, though, I prefer this one. To me, it does look like they've designed it a lot better. Definitely out of the two of them, for me, this would be what I would be buying. Let me know your favourite, though, in the comments. One of the best sets coming in May, though, to my mind, has got to be the little Astromech in set 75416. Yes, it's so good to finally get an official chopper that LEGO has put out there. There have been multiple versions of this that you could buy the designs for on the likes of Rebrickable. There's also been some other companies that have done versions of this. You know, there have been options out there. The ones that I have been impressed with, I've got to say, on Rebrickable have done a pretty good job of making Chopper whilst using actual brick-built pieces instead of stickers to give a very similar look. So it is a shame that LEGO have cheaped out in that way. But that's really my only niggle with this, because otherwise I think actually it's a really good looking little set. It's great that we've got the mini version as well. I mean, the information plaque, I'm not a huge fan of those. Some people are, so not an issue. Good that it's in there, I guess. That way, if you do want to display it, you've got the option rather than not having it. I feel that the overall design that LEGO is now giving us with buildable characters in general tends to be getting stronger. I mean, Chewbacca was really quite weird, as we all know at the time, but then the latest R2 and C-3PO, perhaps not perfect, but they've certainly been better, and this fits in with that, so I give it a big thumbs up. Would I have preferred printed tiles instead of stickers? Yes. Could certain elements just been brick built? Yes. But those are small things, and overall I am quite impressed with this. The price is also pretty much where you'd expect it to be, £95, $100 US, 110 euros, $130 Canadian, $180 in Australia though, so close to 17 cents per piece. Not so great for yourselves over there. Overall, I really do like it though, and I'm not even going to make any puns about playing with a chopper. I'm going to be far more sophisticated this time. In fact, once it's built, I'm not going to play with it at all. I shall simply stand back and admire it once I've got it erected. And with that in mind, it's definitely going to be one of the first ones going into the shopping basket. Of course, you can pre-order it now if you wish to, but if you're wanting to maximize the GWPs that you can potentially get come next month, then you would be better off waiting until then. Now, I just want to mention at this point, there is of course a new K2SO security droid coming in set 75434. This, however, is not a maze set. It's not going to be released until August. That said, you can pre-order it. So considering how we're covering all the other Star Wars sets, it kind of makes sense just for me to reference it here. And actually, I do think this looks really good. The only downside is that it's supposed to be on a similar scale to the C-3PO, Chewbacca sets, etc. that we had, R2-D2. Unfortunately, it's not. It's not really big enough. It should be that bit larger in order to match in properly with those. So that is an unfortunate drawback. On the plus side, I do think that the level of detail they've managed to get here is really nice. I mean, true, it's a shame that these are stickers rather than printed pieces, but I won't bang on about that. We already know my feelings in that regard. Overall, the detailing is really good. And it even comes with the little minifigure version. Of course, that is actually available already in one of the maze sets that we're getting, namely the Rebel U-Wing Starfighter. So you can get it sooner by buying this set. Alternatively, if you don't particularly like this one, then hold fire until August. You will still be able to get it here. So just wanted to mention that. I will cover it properly when we get down the line to all of the August releases. Pre-ordering is available. Pricing for this one, $90 US, obviously. Same in euros, £80, 120 Canadian, and 150 in Australia. Now, of course, we come to the biggie, Jango Fett's Fire Spray class starship, because they're not allowed to call it the Slave One anymore. This says it's coming on May the 4th, because I'm logged out at the moment. If you are logged in as a LEGO's insider, you will have early access to this from May the 1st. Now, I have to say, whilst it does have, in my opinion, a couple of flaws, by and large, this is a really impressive set. 2,970 pieces. It's actually pretty reasonable at the price point. $300 US, same in euros, 260 British pounds, $500 Australian, 380 in Canada. I was actually really pleasantly surprised by that pricing. I mean, just thinking of Jabba's sail barge and the whole stupidity of its price and not including the Sarlacc pit and all of that business, I feel that they've actually got it right on this set. In fact, the whole main build itself just looks really cool. The colours are mostly very accurate. A couple of exceptions in pieces that could have been done in a different colour, but overall, it's a really good job. The general shaping is superb. I just really feel that this is a UCS set that truly is for collectors. It really is an ultimate collector set. And it seems stupid to be excited about that, but it's like supporting a sports team and just being grateful when they don't drop the ball. But in fairness, I just do really like this. I think they've done an absolutely smashing job, and it's one that many people could be happy about getting. Now, there are a couple of rather irritating things in this. One of them is the minifig of young Boba that we have here. Let's just go to the closer up image, actually. This is an absolute case in point of where it would be better if they just didn't do a minifigure at all, because this is the best version of Jango that there has been. I absolutely love all of the printing that we've got. That really is superb. But then young Boba here, this color of blue is wrong. The arm color is wrong. The skin tone color that they've done in the V on the shirt does not actually quite match in with the face and hand coloring. The hair is just not accurate at all. I think the facial expression is stupid. Why on earth he's got a brown belt instead of a blue one is anybody's guess. That's not even remotely accurate, so I just don't understand it at all. So he's a super letdown. And then the other thing is the information plaque. Again, I'm not a big fan of these, but for those who are and really want them to be correct, okay, they're not allowed to call it the Slave One, fine. But then why have you just written Starship, Lego? I mean, you've gone to the trouble of naming it up here, being a fire spray class Starship, which I'll admit, I mean, I'm not a Star Wars expert. I'm a big fan and I've watched them many times, but I've never taken in that this was called a fire spray class Starship. So congrats to everybody who did know that. But if that is the case, why not write that on the information plaque? It's just so lazy to have Starship written on there. Just a letdown, really, for a UCS set when you have what is overall a really amazing build and then just a couple of dumb decisions. I don't even know if at this point it's down to saving money or whether it's just a total lack of care or quality checking. It really is weird. Whilst that is a shame, though, it's not something that I'm going to let put me off of actually getting and building this Starship because it is absolutely fantastic. And credit where it is due to LEGO, massive thumbs up from me in that regard. I feel it's one of the absolute best Star Wars sets that they've given us in a long time. Now that brings me on to the gifts with purchase that you can expect when buying this set or a combination of other Star Wars ones next month, although I should also mention that there is also a new keychain of C-3PO and R2-D2. Both of those going to be available from May as well, and I think there should be mixed opinions really on the fact that they've now done a different coloured leg for the C-3PO on the keychain when they couldn't be bothered to do that on some of the previous sets that they've given us, but I'm not going to go off into a rant about that. So the first GWP is Jango Fett's Starship keychain. This one exclusive for when you actually buy his Starship. So you're only going to get that if you buy this. Doesn't matter what other sets you might be getting. This one only comes with that while stocks last. And I suppose this is another one where it's just down to personal opinion whether you like it or not. I'm not usually a fan of when LEGO does this sort of thing, but actually I feel this looks pretty cool. Fairly nice collector's piece, actually, and quite different. And if you're in the States, maybe you should be particularly pleased that this is a gift with purchase. I probably shouldn't highlight the fact that this says made in China on it. We won't go there. Although, actually, I am going to go there in the sense of why do they have to write that so prominently on this? If it was kind of more subtle or around the edge or just somewhere where it isn't so obviously in your face, that is kind of off-putting now that I've seen it. But certainly looking at the other side, I feel this is a pretty cool GWP. Now the next is just a little poly bag. This a 74-piece version of the Millennium Falcon. Now this is going to be available with orders over $40, same in euros, £35. In Australia, it'll be available with purchases over $65. And for Canada, orders over $50. And then the other one is the Camino training facility. Now, this one is going to be on bigger orders. So $160. 160 euros and £145. In Australia, this will be for Star Wars orders over $260, and in Canada, $210 or more. That's the threshold for this. So naturally, if you're going to be buying a Jango Fett's Starship, then you're going to get all of them. If you're just looking at a collection of others, to be fair, that main threshold is still going to be met for those other two GWPs. And importantly, if you are buying this along with other Star Wars sets, probably best to do this one just in its own order. That way you're going to get all the GWP and then do a separate order to get, well, some duplicate copies of this as well. I know not everybody likes me saying that, but ultimately you're paying the money. You should be able to do separate orders and get multiple copies. I've heard that some people have issues. Personally, I never have in that regard, regardless of whether I've been ordering online or actually going into the store. You know, if I'm in store, I will actually do it as separate purchases. I mean, I'd even queue up again if they needed me to. So ultimately, you're paying the money, so you should be able to get multiples of these. I know that's unfair potentially on some other people, but ultimately, if you are ordering when this first comes out, and if you are genuinely buying, let's just say all the new releases for yourself, then you should, in my opinion, be entitled to as many of those GWPs as the different orders represent. And what you do with any duplicates is up to you. You can give them to friends, give them to family, sell them on. That's just the way that it goes. Of course, you do want to be ordering certain sets early, especially one like this if you're interested in the keychain, because things like that do tend to sell out more quickly, and it is where then scalpers, unfortunately, can start making a stupid amount of money on them. But that is a different conversation. Now, for Insiders rewards, if you want to cash in 1,800 points, then you will get, everywhere apart from Mexico, a poster designed by Joe Hogan. So limited edition May the 4th poster, this time featuring the Ultimate Collector Series Jango Fett Starship, and the poster plays on the father and son relationship between bounty hunter Jango Fett and his terrible minifigure son Boba. Now, I know it's stupid, but I can't show you this image on YouTube because LEGO hasn't officially released it yet. So if you want to see that, link in the description below. Anyway, the poster makes them out as being in their own retro sitcom flying with the Fetts. Basically makes it look like an old VHS box. Try not to tape over it. And it apparently brings a nostalgic feel, emulating the time from the original movies. And then 1,000 points will get you a tin pencil case. Can't show you this one either. Don't worry, I can show you the coin that's coming up in a second. But if you want to see this, again, link in the description. It is just a tin pencil case coming with some stickers, so more family orientated. And then for the most amount of points, 2,500, you can get the Jango Fett Starship coin. And a bit like the keychain, I think this looks pretty nice. Is it worth 2,500 points? You'll have to make your own minds up on that one. Ultimately, if you're willing to spend the points, then it is worth it to you. Now, the other thing is that from the 1st of May to the 5th, as they've done before, there'll be double VIP insider points on certain sets, and there will also be some offers, deals, savings, etc. to be had on some of the older Star Wars sets, although it's not yet confirmed. Not that I've seen at any rate which ones exactly those will be, but if you are planning on buying any of the other sets that are already out, then again, just hang fire until then, and it may well be one that's included in a discount as well as those double points. So there you go, those are the sets coming in May. What will you be getting? Post in the comments down below. Any other updates, I'll put them in the pinned comment. Please subscribe if you haven't already. That really does help me out. Like, share, etc. And check out one of these 2 videos next. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.